We're going to keep going here. Is that right? Okay, hang on. Where was I? Oh, I got it. Okay. The paper was stuck to her face. And freaking tears, can't see. Face, love you thing, happy, looked around. In the beginning of the night, he was trying to finish several deadlines with no luck. Sometimes the hands just want to be idle, and no amount of force or coercion will tell them otherwise. Covered in paint, frustration, and humility, he walked into the bathroom, put Prince on the stereo that sat on the back of the toilet, and climbed into the shower to wash the day away. As the shower filled up with steam and the things he couldn't create, he leaned his head against the wall and closed his eyes. Before her, he would have drank himself into a frustrated coma, eventually crawling into the tub where he would sweat and cry and scream in frustration and not getting out the words and images that struggled to find a door that was not there or was locked shut. But now, things were different. Now, she was a part of him, a surprising strength on a very tired day. A confidence, a calm, a voice of reason in his truly chaotic head. Remember, don't fight words. Fight back with feeling, she says. And she was right. Whenever he didn't think and just went with his feelings, the words were always good. The paintings the exact music that wanted to be sung at that moment. He reached to shut the water off when the shower curtain slid open with a loud jingle of the metal rings holding it. He turned with a smile, thinking she would be naked and wanting to join him. Instead, she had a rather concentrated look on her face. Not angry, not happy, not upset. However, there were several different emotions going through that look all at once. This was tucked in the back of the closet underneath some old blankets, she asked, holding up a book. He knew the book well. He wrote it, tracing her fingers over the handwritten words on the cover. Songs from the Hourglass? Letters to Ocean? She asked, raising her eyebrows. For a second, he didn't know what to say. He just stood in the shower staring as the water ran over him. Finally, he took a deep breath, exhaled, and said, yeah, I wrote those in the beginning when I couldn't contact you, couldn't see you, couldn't even talk to you on the phone. It was the only thing that kept me connected to you. I was afraid I was going to lose you. I missed you so much. His words trailed off, not knowing what else to say. Why didn't you ever tell me about this? She opened the book, and several handwritten letters hit the floor. Her eyes grew big as she laughed. Oh my God, it is stuffed full! He made another nervous laugh. Yeah, I missed you a lot. That was my way of telling you without telling you. I love you. I was afraid you might get scared if I sent them and you would run away. She leaned in, kissed him gently on the lips, and put her head on his. Never, my river, never. They drank wine that night as he kept working on the deadlines, and she started to go through the book and letters. Occasionally he would glance over at her, and every time she would flip the hair out of her eyes, look up from the book, smile, and then go back to reading. 6 bottles of wine later, and the deadline completed, he wound up painting phrases from the book on her body. So this is what love is like, he whispered in her ear. I like it. He grabbed one of the letters and sat down in the window seat. She dances all over me as I sit next to her watching the fire dance into the night sky, the heat building as it gains strength. The tree branches closest to the flames dance just as madly as I did in my mind. A wild, frantic, erotic dance, so beautiful and so deadly at the same time, I could not pull my eyes away. I understand the dance and wanted it more, wanted to be burned by her, to dance just as madly as the branches, to feel her embers graze my skin and then lift off into the night to dance among the stars. That night by the fire, he was trying to control what he felt for her. She was with someone else, and he was certain that what he felt would never go anywhere. Hoping to get lost in the painting he was doing and not think of her, he worked frantically as the party went on around him. But it was no use. The more frantic he painted, the more he thought of her. And the more he thought of her, the more frantic he painted. And then a sense of calm rushed over him as he felt a gentle hand on his back. She leaned into him and whispered into his ear, "Shh, I am here." She gave him a silence he had never known before, at the same time giving him an energy that fueled him to reach the places inside of him he had never known and loved with the exuberance of a child discovering new ideas for the very first time. That night they worked on the painting together, standing side by side, using their hands on the canvas. Their fingers would touch. Each time a spark, a shiver, and a sigh went through them both, and the touches lasted longer and longer, until a mutual friend walked out behind them and cleared her throat. Letting the letter fall to the floor, he noticed 2 small canvases and his journal full of notes were next to a half-empty glass of wine. On the top page, written in her beautiful cursive writing, was the word, "Shh." The word went all the way across the page and onto one of the canvases. After that night, remembering that night, everything that came after, both the good and the bad, and seeing her sleeping comfortably in their bed, he could feel the creative fingers spread over his mind and that constant pulse and desire to create something. He grabbed the pen and tablet closest to him. Falling in love. You do not get to choose who you do this with. It is called falling for a reason. It's not drifting gently like a feather on the wind in love. It is not sliding comfortably in love. It is falling in love. You fall. Falling. The world rushing by you at a blur. Your stomach feels like it is trying to find your throat. Your heart is going 1,000 times a minute, while in the same moment, feeling like your heart and time has stopped. You can't catch your breath no matter how hard you try. The exhilaration of that feeling and not knowing how far it can go. And when you think that, the feeling keeps going, and you feel such things you have never felt before. Terrified and excited at the same time. Yeah, that sounds about right. You do not get to choose who you do this with. It just doesn't work that way. That is part of the falling. That is the part that makes you want more. An addictive mystery not yet solved, and is the greatest feeling you will ever know. He pauses from the writing and glances over at her as she sleeps. She has kicked the blankets down to her feet again, a ritual they both do throughout the night, hence the pile of blankets always on the floor. As he gets up to cover her again, he remembers one of their conversations over the phone. Okay, I have to pause. Huh?